Today is new lens day. I am so pumped on this. I have been wanting a wide angle lens for a while now to add to my kit, and usually I rent my wide angle lenses, and I finally just broke down and bought the Tamron 17 to 28 millimeter 2.8, and I am super excited about it. So let's go ahead and get this open. Got paperwork, don't need that. And then, oh, she's a little stuck. All right, here. Smells like a new camera. Well, just looking at it right out of the gate, this thing is super lightweight. It is made of plastic. It weighs about 14.8 grams, or no, sorry, 14.8 ounces. And it is fairly light. I mean, look at this thing. For the focal range that it is, it's actually relatively small. I know that it being plastic might put some people off, but I've owned the Tamron 28 to 75 millimeter for over a year now, and I've filmed everything with this YouTube channel, and I've taken tons of photos with it. I've dropped it, I'm putting it through the ringer, and it is held up like a champ. All right, so there isn't any buttons on here at all. There is just the two focal rings. Now, the Tamron lenses, the focal range and the focus ring are switched. So the focal ring is right here, and then the focus ring is right here, which is super smooth. Ooh. Speaking of the focal range, the thing telescopes inside of the lens. One of the perks about that is that if you put a filter on one of these things, you're not going to get any dust in it at all, which is fantastic, especially like if you're out and about and you're taking pictures outside and the wind kicks up. Now, this is the second lens that's in the Tamron Holy Trinity that they released, and all three of the Holy Trinity are going to share the same filter thread, which is actually a 67 millimeter filter thread, which is really nice. You don't have to buy like different filter sizes for all the lenses that you have, which is a huge perk for me. This thing is actually weather sealed, which is great. So if you take a look at the back here, you have a little bit of like a rubber ring, which is nice, and then you have your like metal connectors and stuff here. I live in a very wet place. I live in Vancouver. It's always raining. I'm always in the snow. I'm always in some sort of weather condition. Having that weather sealing that's on this lens is so crucial to me. I've taken my other Tamron lens through snowstorms. I've taken it to Hawaii. I've been in the rain. I haven't had any problem whatsoever due to that weather sealing. One of the small issues that I do have with this lens though is the focal range ring is really stiff, which is really nice. I like that, more of a stiff focal range focal ring, which is, you know, great. But the more you use it, it seems to get to be a little loose. On the 28 to 75 millimeter that I have, when it's on my camera and on my capture clip while I'm hiking, only as of recent, I've started noticing that it kind of like slides down a little bit. Now, since this doesn't actually extend out, you'll have to just make sure that it's on the right focal range if that does happen. That could really be a sticking point for you, but for me, it's really not. I mean, I have used the living crap out of my lens, and if you're really not using the crap out of it, you know, come on, stuff's gonna happen. So that, to me, is not really that big of a deal, but just keep that in mind, that that could happen. It might not, but it could. Another thing about this lens is that it does not have stabilization in it. So if you're wanting to film with it, like I'm gonna be filming with it, I'm probably gonna film vlogs with it, film tutorials with it. I'm gonna probably film a lot of stuff with this lens, but the in-body stabilization of the Sony camera and then just attaching this will work just fine. This paired with the Sony, I have not had any problems with it. Like I've said, I've been using the other Tamron lenses for a while now, and when I do film, the only shake that I really get out of it is when I'm holding the lens and my arm is just like, meh. And it's usually from me. It's not from the lens itself not being able to stabilize. So it's just the fact that I'm either weak or I'm freezing and I'm holding the lens out in front of me. If that's a sticking point for you, just keep that in mind. But otherwise, this is a really good lens. Now let's go ahead and start talking about the real reason you're probably looking at this review. The image quality on this thing, amazing. It has got a 2.8 all the way through the entire focal range, which is fantastic. It has a minimum focal distance of 7.5 inches, so you can get fairly close to whatever it is that you're shooting. And the images are tack sharp. I have shot with the Sony 16 to 35 millimeter in the past, and then I've shot with this as well. And I would almost say that this is just a little bit sharper than the Sony. Almost. If anything, you're really not going to see much of a difference. And speaking of the Sony, I'm sure you're wondering why I decided to get this lens instead of the Sony 16 to 35 millimeter. For one, like I said, this thing is super lightweight. It is 14.8 ounces. The Sony lens is freaking 1.5 pounds. I mean, that's really freaking heavy. And then when you're hiking up a mountain and you've got this heavy, well, the Sony itself isn't really all that heavy. However, have you seen the Sony lens? It's fat. It's really big. And if you have that hanging like on a capture clip or you're trying to carry it around, that's really heavy. So for me, the name of the game is making sure that I have as lightweight gear as possible. Also, the Sony lens is a little over $2,000 US. This thing is $899 US. I mean, for the price point for this little lens and how sharp it is and how well it does, the Sony lens is totally overpriced in my opinion. If you're looking to get into a Sony system and you're wanting to get one of these Tamron lenses, I highly, highly, highly recommend this. The images and the video that you get out of it is well worth the price range, especially if you just bought a Sony camera, which is like $2,000 some odd dollars in itself. So guys, that's about it for me today in this review. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I'd greatly appreciate it. Subscribe if you are not already. Do me a favor, leave me a comment down below. Which one do you prefer? Have you tried this lens? Do you like this lens? Or do you prefer the Sony 16 35mm 2.8 over this? So let me know down in the comments below. I would like to hear your opinion. And guys, I will see you in the next video. All right, see you later.